I am Cpl David Ward. I was with the 1 Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment in Ontario. I am Treaty 8, number 1 Slave Lake, Woodland Cree. I now live in Vancouver. I'm a Grand Prairie, Alberta boy. I like blowing things up and I like firing weapons. I was in cadets, so I went to Vernon Army Cadet Camp and I liked what it was. And with all Native people, get us in uniform, doesn't matter whether it's fire department, ambulance, police, armed forces, we find something in it that makes us stand taller and more honorable. I'm trained as a machine gunner, and I'm trained both light and heavy, and I'm trained as a driver wheel, which means I can drive anywhere from a car to a 5-ton military truck. I did 2 tours in Cyprus, 2 tours with the United Nations, and that was back when we weren't allowed to shoot back, even if we were shot. We went in 1974 to 75 to Cyprus. We took over from the Canadian Airborne, who was shot up at the end of the Turk invasion. We got the tail end of the war. We spent 3 months outside the city of Nicosia in a little Turk village, which we had to patrol between, which was a quarter of a mile to the Greek village. The funny part about it is both villages have been there for thousands of years. They're intermarried, but because of the war, they now have the minefield. So we do our patrols at night and you'd hear yelling and screaming. Inside the city, they're mad at each other. They're trying to find out how their family is, or there's a new recipe the wife wants her sister-in-law to use, and so it was different. And there they were good people. Whereas inside the city, I was, I think, the fourth or fifth oldest of the privates. Most of them were 18, 19 years old. And so we'd so we've never been overseas. We're in a combat situation. All we can rely on is we look up, a 10-foot radio antenna with a blue UN flag, and we're hoping. I hope they see it. And when I went to Egypt, there was a choice: spending winter in Canada or spend winter in the Mediterranean and Middle East. I worked in spare parts. The guy from Canada, whose job I was taking over, was doing security, which is my job, and they wouldn't let us trade. Over there, because I was brown, everybody in Egypt thought I was Arabic or Egyptian. Spent 6 months explaining to them exactly, no, I'm Canadian Indian. Oh, Israel, no problem. All they said was, oh, we have met a lot of white Canadians, but never met a Canadian Indian. There was some prejudice, but a good 2x4 usually took care of the problem. With the platoon that I was with, the majority of boys had lived or worked with Native people, and we got along okay. I mean, they got mad at me, I got mad at them, but when push comes to shove, we were standing side by side. Most of the Native people that I know usually go to the States because there's a lot better at promotion. There isn't that much prejudice. Whereas in Canada, it's harder to get promoted. I only met one Cree officer, with my platoon, as long as you did your job to the best of your ability, they didn't care who you were. What religion, what what color, what nation, because we backed each other up. The Aboriginal people of Canada are the protectors of Canada. We've been protecting since 1492. Canadian, 1776, when the Americans invaded, the Mohawks stopped them, helped stop them. 1812, same thing. We had what we call the Real Rebellion. We were on the other side, and my battalion was on the other side. I have to stay away from Saskatchewan. The Nile, when they went to rescue Gordon in Khartoum, they got Mohawk and the Métis that knew canoes, and they manned the boats to get to Khartoum. World War I, we had reserves, full reserves going. They had basically 3 generations of men and women going over, but they weren't allowed to go as Aboriginal people. They lost their status. They had to give it up. When they sent war bonds or money back home, it disappeared. What we are trying as the youth, we're trying to get a hold of the Indian agents' black books. We can't get them. World War II, same situation as World War I. No status. Captain Eddie Harris trained and ready to fly for the D-Day invasion. He got to Trenton and they realized he never signed a piece of paper. And he said, I'm a traditional chief. I'm not giving up my traditional chief for a piece of paper. His squadron flew over to Europe and he stayed in Canada because he wouldn't sign that paper. Again, there were medals, there were mentioned in dispatches, rank, but weren't given to us. Tommy Prince, he served with the Patricias, and he served with the 1st Special Service Force, who they call the Devil's Brigade. He also served in Korea. He's honored by the Americans, no problem. When he died, the federal government basically said, another Indian's dead. The city of Winnipeg and the Princess Patricias heard about it, and they had their own special funeral for him. When I was in, we have our status. We're allowed to put our nation on our ID cards. So I'm no longer a Frenchman or an Irishman. We are fighting to try and get back the status, trying to get back the monies that was given. Veteran Affairs took all the Aboriginal records and put it into Indian Affairs, not Veteran Affairs. So one of our World War I, well, World War II, the Korean veterans need help, to go to Veteran Affairs. Sorry, we can't help you. You're under Indian Affairs. They go to Indian Affairs. The Indian Affairs says, "Oh, sorry, that's Veteran Affairs." So they have to fight it. When I joined, I was allowed to put on my ID card Western Woodland Cree. The reason why I put Western is we're a little bit different in the language from the Eastern, and so whereas had I joined during World War I, World War II, or the Korean War, because I have an Irish last name, I would be an Irishman. We weren't allowed to join. And so that's why we're having problems helping veterans from World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, because all they have is Irishmen, Frenchmen, Polish, and so we're having problems finding them. When I was in, we were not allowed to go to powwows. We weren't allowed, basically, our traditions. Now, we've got people with their dance outfit. There's a Navy, he's probably corporal now, but he's a traditional dancer. And he takes his outfit and he goes to different countries and he shows them who we are. And he has what they call a round dance, and he invites people to come in. He said, I was in Israel, I had the Palestinians and the Israelis in the same circle dancing. So we are coming out more and more these days. I have PTSD. Veteran Affairs has been really good at helping me. I mean, they're helping me with my knees, helping me with my teeth, helping me with getting my treatment. I go to a counselor. I learned that I didn't have to fight what I have by myself, and that's the one thing. And they help with the and they do want more Native people in, and they really do go out to the reserves now and say, this is what we like. I go and have a talk with them sometimes. In 1995, a group of BC Aboriginal veterans started what we call National Aboriginal Veterans Association. We were invited to Ottawa. They set aside one day for Aboriginal veterans, which is here in BC, or in Vancouver, we have it on November 8th. And the rest of Canada has it on a couple other days, but usually it's on November 8th. This does not replace November 11th. If any student can convince their teacher that they want to come down, they're welcome. You will have fun. We'd like to see more students come and join us. With the youth that I've had the honor to speak to, they basically know what they're supposed to do. They're a little shy. But once they, you go up to a veteran and you say hello and go up and say thank you. They appreciate it. They'll tell you, who they are, where they serve. But they appreciate that the honor and that you're showing them. I would like to say it's an honor for me to speak to the students. Miigwech, which is Cree for thank you, and enjoy yourself. Stay out of trouble. Try and stay out of mischief and mayhem, but good luck.